don't know where you're going, right? And our list, which one do you think is a little bit more challenging? What'd you say? Why? Why do you say their list? Yeah, those are the natural things we expect, right? Yeah. I wonder if Jesus sends them out that unprepared to show us when we think we're unprepared that it's possible, right? Because if they had all of the things, maybe we would say, well, they're different. They had Jesus, right? He was right there with them, but he tells them to go. And he also makes all the stipulations as to all the things they weren't supposed to have. And maybe there's a lesson for you and I in our moments when we feel unprepared. There's a lesson for us in our moments when we feel some of the feelings that we talked about, right? Under-resourced, not having the right support system, not knowing enough. Maybe there are moments when we need to look at this story and say, okay, I don't feel prepared, but what can God do with people who don't feel prepared, right? Can God use people who don't feel prepared? In fact, has there ever been anyone that God calls that says, yep, I'm prepared for this? What's the track record of people when God calls them? Someone mentioned Moses. Was Moses like, yep, now's the time, I'm ready for this? In fact, he probably felt ready 40 years earlier when he was younger, but he was 80 years old and he was tending sheep at the backside of a mountain, and God calls him and he goes, now's not the time. I'm on my retirement. I've got AARP. I'm getting Medicaid, Medicare. I don't know which one it is, right? I'm playing bingo down at the local place. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to go lead any nation. God says, no, now's the right time. I'm not prepared. And over, when God calls people, they seem unprepared. And if you ever feel unprepared when God calls you, you're in good company. You're in good company. You're just like these 72. They had a long list of Jesus telling them what they weren't supposed to take. And yet still, he still tells them to go. So we're going to talk. Pastor, remind me, what time am I supposed to end? Perfect. Okay. So we're going to go through maybe a couple of these. So the first thing that Jesus tells them to do when he sends them out is this. Begin with prayer. I need everyone to leave out the word lead. I need everyone to say that with me. Begin with prayer. Oh, that was 10 of us. Let's all try that together. 1, 2, 3. All right. Jesus says, I'm sending you out, and I want you to begin with prayer. Here is what he says. I'm going to come back to this. He says, let me go back. Okay. Give me one slide over if you can. Let me see. Greg, where should I point this to? Where should I point it? Here, there. Okay. All right, I'm going to click 1, 2. One more. Okay, that one. One more back. Here we go. Let's read this. The harvest is what? But the laborers are. Therefore, pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his vineyard. Behold, I'm sending you as lambs in the midst of wolves. So let's catch this story. They are outnumbered because he says, which one is bigger, the harvest or the laborers? The harvest, so which means they're outnumbered. So I'm sending you, and understand that you are outnumbered. The first strike. But then, what's the other thing that Jesus tells them? What's the other analogy? He says, I'm sending you out as what in the midst of what? Isn't that the most comforting word picture? Which one are they, the lambs or the wolves? They're the lambs. How many of you feel pretty excited if you heard, yeah, I'm going to send you out. You're going to be lambs or in a pack of wolves? Anybody excited yet? I mean, by the way, so allow me to say this for a second, and don't let it mess with your sensibilities. If Jesus were trying to inspire confidence in them, this is not the way you do this. This is not the way you motivate people, right? Like, here you go. Go out, don't take anything with you, and know this: you are the lambs. We're going into wolves, and you're outnumbered. Go, right? Like, everyone who's ready, take 2 steps forward, right? I think, but it's interesting here that Jesus tells them a command in the midst of all this. He says, therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Okay, that's easy. Jesus says to them, pray that God would send out laborers into his harvest. All right? And I think that's where a lot of us kind of stop. Jesus tells us to pray for laborers. And so what do? We pray, God, send someone into the harvest, right? Anyone ever prayed that prayer? God, please send someone to share the good news of the gospel with people. Has anyone ever prayed that prayer? But then it's interesting. Jesus doesn't just tell them, pray to send laborers. What was the last thing he tells them? Now go your way. And I want us to see what's happening here. Jesus tells them, pray that God would send laborers. And then the next thing he tells them is, go be a laborer. Do you catch that? Do you catch that? No. Who's the laborers that's going to show up? They are. Jesus says, pray that God sends laborers, and after you get off your knees, go be a laborer. So, here is the first challenge I want to challenge us with today. We all need to pray that God would send us to people. And in fact, this is something I want to invite us to add as a part of our prayer each and every day. I know there's some things you're praying for naturally every day. You pray for your family members, you pray for your health, you pray for good weather because it's cold up here and you want Florida weather, right? It's part of your natural prayers. I get that. Can you add one other thing to your prayers? God, send me. And in fact, it can look like, God, I'm praying today that you would send me to someone and that you would send someone to me. Is anyone brave enough to pray that prayer? All right. Can I tell you a truth? That if you pray that prayer, you will see God answer that prayer. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. If you pray, God, send me to someone and send someone to me, God answers that prayer. Now, each of us is living life. We go places, we interact with people, we're moving through life. But when we begin to pray this prayer, God changes even the ordinary life and the ordinary circumstances and the ordinary interactions that we have. And he creates what I call extraordinary and divine appointments. So this is my challenge. Can I just get a hand raised commitment from everyone that at least twice this week we're going to add that to our prayer? God, send me to someone and send someone to me. Can we say yes to that? All right. Yes, sir. I saw your hand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think you make a good point. Um, this is a progression that we'll see that it unfolds this afternoon as we talk. But this isn't about on a leading with Bible study. You'll see Jesus actually gives them a roadmap, and the roadmap doesn't start with sharing the news of the gospel. I'll foreshadow and tell you it ends with that. And so Jesus says, God, who are you sending me to? Right? He tells them, to pray the prayer, God send laborers and then go be a laborer. All right, I think I have time for just the start of one more. So let me just start this next one. All right. So B is what? What does the B stand for in bless in our acronym? B is for, come on, class. I didn't lose you already. That was the thing I had you say earlier. B means begin with prayer. All right, let's try that again. B is for, all right, let's try it. Begin with, all right. If you're going to talk to men about God, you want to talk to God about men. All right, so begin with prayer. The L is look for openings. Everyone say look for openings. Look for openings. Jesus tells them this: whatever house you enter, first say, peace be to this house. Wow. Yeah, first say, peace be to this house. And if a son of peace is there, your peace will rest upon him. But if not, it will return to you. Jesus tells them, don't go bouncing around from house to house. Check the temperature. See if people are receptive to you. And if they are, stay there, right? So Jesus is saying, look for people who are receptive. Look for people who are open. And if you find someone who's open, then you stay and you build relationship with them. I think for a lot of us, our challenge is we're not open to relationships with people. We are not regular anywhere. We're not living a pattern of openness, so we're not seeing openings. I'll tell this story and then I'll complete this section this afternoon. So we had bought a new car. We bought a new, I think it was a silver Altima. Right? We had a silver Altima. And as I mentioned, we have 3 children. So my wife tells me, we figured out one of our kids had a homework assignment, had a project, he had something for school that, of course, they didn't tell us early enough. So they needed it that day, but we found out late at night. Because no one else has ever done that, right? So I had to go to Walmart. That was the superstore in our area. And I went to Walmart early in the morning to get their supplies. I thought I'd wake up early, I'll go get it, we'll work on it, they'll go to school with it. So I go to Walmart, rush in, buy the stuff, come back out. As soon as I come back out, I see my car, I go to the car door, it is open already, which is a surprise. So I open it, and when I look in the front seat of my car, both the driver's side and the passenger side have trash all over the car. And I'm thinking, someone has trashed my car. What just happened? I left my car open, and someone has just vandalized my car by trashing it. Right? Just like, what is all this, like, old food stuff here? So as I'm getting ready to clean up and sit down, I sort of glance a little bit above my car, and I see another silver Altima, just a few cars away. All right, so who knows what just happened? I got in the wrong car. Has that ever happened to anyone? Not the getting into the wrong. Okay. Okay. Maybe it's happened to you. You bought a new car. What happens after you buy that new car? Do you see? It doesn't happen to anyone. Like, you keep seeing them everywhere. You're like, what? How did they just start producing all of these cars? Like, it just happens everywhere. Now, by the way, just to burst your bubble, those cars were there all along, right? They were just there. You just weren't paying attention to them. And here is, I think, what there is. There's a science behind this. It's called the reticular activating system. Once you are made aware of something, you begin seeing it everywhere. So if I said to you, red cars, look for red cars today, you're going to see a whole bunch of red cars on your way home after our workshop this afternoon, because your reticular activating system has been activated to look for that. So here's what I believe. Think about what I said earlier about beginning with prayer. God, send me to someone. God, who are you sending to me? When we pray that prayer, God activates our reticular activating system so that we begin to see people who are more open to relationships than we saw them before. We see people who are open to conversation more than we saw them before. Now, did these people magically appear? No. But because we prayed, God has opened our eyes to see people who are open to a conversation, who are open to having an interaction with us. more than we did before. And we're going to talk about that some more this afternoon. So we're going to continue this afternoon looking at the rest of the acronym for blessed. And I hope to see each of us out here this afternoon for the rest of the workshop. Thank you.